We're live. Tried to be really on time today. And Colleen's not even here to see it. Wendy was here first. Don was second. I'm third. Twisted Mopar Garage is here. I said he was already holding the trans brake button 20 minutes early. Danny Boyd is here. Justin Hill. Damien and she, I guess they're her moms, said grandmas. But anyway, y'all have a good time with family. Friday night is just, it's just here for whoever is free. If you got like a standing obligation and stuff that you do, awesome, do that. That's great. But you know what? If you want to come hang out here, you're welcome. Buff Del Campo is here. Buff told Don that he watched your transmission being built. Yeah, that was cool. So I filmed more the last one I built, which was a 904. I filmed a little of this one, but it was a little different. So I got behind getting there, and so I lost most of my day on Wednesday. My idea was I wanted to start early on Wednesday, get everything in the cooker and all done, have more time to film, but I didn't. So that's okay. I got there Wednesday afternoon, took everything down, and let me tell you, doing a transmission there is not for the faint of heart. You take everything out down to a bare casting. You dump it all in a basket. I mean, everything. Just you literally pour it into a basket. No laying anything out in order, no marking anything, nothing. Until I did that 904 that way, I had never done one like that. It's kind of terrifying the first time you do it, but I got to tell you, Cope knows every single part in his head. And every time I'm looking at something like, I didn't have this laid out, he's like, oh, that's this ring, this snap ring, this seal ring, this. He knows exactly every single piece. Because after doing that 904, I thought, well, you can do this, and then the 727, I did the same way, but it wasn't nervous for doing the 727 that way. I had every single thing in the basket. And as everything came out, it worked the same way. So I'll probably do my next one here that way. But anyway, that's how I did it. Everything clean, but I didn't do as much filming. I did take several pictures. And anyway, I put them in a little slideshow for you guys. And I was waiting for somebody in the comments to mention this. No one ever did. Because of the speed at which the needle on the dial indicator moves and the frames per second and the way that it creeps when you let off the air pressure, if you watch the dial, it really truly looks like it has negative 0.15 clearance on high gear drum. Like it's 15 thousandths to the negative side. But it doesn't. In fact, if you freeze frame, you can find where that needle is on the other side. It's 85,000. And if you look at the snap ring, you can clearly tell it's way more than any 15 thousandths. It's 85. But in the video, because you can't really capture as fast as that needle is moving, even in 60 frames a second, it's kind of a blur. It looks like 15 thousandths. But anyway, I didn't do a lot of video. I got that one done. Want to do a good job. And when you film, it slows you way down. So my next build I want to do will probably be an A500. I've actually never done the overdrive section of one of those before. So that'll be a new experience doing the overdrive section. And that one, it's going to be a little more exotic. It'll have billet servos and stuff like that. A brake. So anyway, that'll be a little different. I'm going to try to do more filming for that. And I'm going to think ahead. What I think is the only way to do it, as much as it's murder to edit, I think I'm just going to set up multiple cameras, let them eat, and that's the only way to do it. You try to stop and film, it just clogs up the works. But anyway, Ron English is here getting everything together. Boring Builds is drinking Don Julio at the bar, waiting the best day of the week. Friday Night Live with Mr. Wilburn. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it. Glad you're here. We have a good time here. But it's not just with me. I mean, there's no reason to be here just for me. It's for all of you guys This is why we do it. Bus asking if I can hide the heart, and I know what he's talking about. That little annoying heart that's on the lower right where your chat line is that gets in the way and blocks the end of the last comment to load. It's so annoying. I don't think I can get rid of it. It's a worthless YouTube feature. I wish they would get rid of it. Anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, it makes it hard to read less. Exactly, Ron. Really? Buff, if you find out how that's done, let me know it. I'll get rid of that thing in a heartbeat. Seriously. Let me know what live or whatever, or I'll ask. I want to find out because I would love to get rid of that thing. Tall Garage is in the house. Sherry Marie, how you doing? Rapid Transit J. Heart's a waste of space. Don't see it on. Yeah, you don't see it on the phone. Exactly. But the phone is much more cumbersome because, you have a hard time seeing both comments. And I do the desktop view on my phone. And so I can have the player on the top and the comments on the bottom. That's the best way to do it, but it's very hard if you're a mod to work with that. Andrew Nelson is here, says happy Thanksgiving. How you doing, Andrew? It's good to see you. Dead-eyed Dick Dastardly, how's it going, man? I've probably at some point in time shot a match with somebody named that. Who knows? LNA Auto Works. The Boring Builds staff is here, right? Boring Builds is a good name because if your builds are boring, it generally means they're boringly reliable, do what they're supposed to do. Usually exciting stuff is stuff that's messing up. Most of the time. Auto Salvage Outlaws is here. How you doing? Poor old Auto Salvage. I think he's in he's doing a temporary sentence from posting or something. I'm not sure. YouTube is grotesquely unfair with that kind of thing. But anyway, it's another story. YouTube, I think, got after Auto Salvage there for his community posts and some stuff. Okay, fine. But they'll sanction other stuff that goes on, no problem. That's what you get when you get a bunch of blue hair 22-year-olds with a bunch of face piercings running things. Pure Pontiac is here. Tony's Hot Rod Garage is here. How you doing? Tony liked my transmission build, and I really appreciate it. I like it when another transmission builder likes the build. That means something. I appreciate if anybody liked watching the video or not, but for people who know how to take all that pinball machine worth of stuff and make it function and do what it's supposed to do, if they say good job, then I appreciate that. And Tony builds transmissions. Tony won't tell you. He doesn't boast, but he's an ace. He knows a lot of stuff. Indirect Connection says, I have very little service, so I'll stick around as long as I can. Cool. Appreciate you, Jason. Mean Street Mopar says, what's up, everybody? Hey, you are. Hey, Mean Street Mopar. Won't be long. It'll be a day on there. You know what that means. So last year was your rookie season, and this year you got that leg up. So we're going to be looking at you come charging to the front. Max Wedge Dick Dastardly says, I can't see my comments now. I can see you on StreamYard. I will say, for those who cannot see Max Wedge Dick Dastardly, at the top of your screen, you should see an option between top chat and live chat. Toggle to live chat. I don't know. YouTube's got this thing, I guess, for people who are just really, really, really soft to where they try to censor comments arbitrarily or something. But anyway, if you switch to live chat, you can see all the comments. And that really should be the default. Or actually, you shouldn't have the other. Ron English said, it all started with stuff in a 383 in Nan's van. Yes. So I'll tell that story for people who didn't see it. We were at Carlisle, or actually it was before that. Don, being the prince of a guy that he is, he knew that I needed something to put in that Roadrunner because I didn't own a big block. I'm just, I thought about putting a 318 in it just to make the haters go nuts or something. Whatever, I didn't care. But Don said, I have this 383 that's just gathering dust in my garage. Here. I thought, wow, that's freaking cool. I'm not going to take Don's 383. I want to do something nice. I want to work something nice. So I suggested, tell you what, I'm going to put a value on it of whatever it was. I told him to put a value on it, which is probably a fine market value. I said, I'll trade you for the build on the 727 that came out of your Valiant, because he was building the 440. And so you have a fresh engine, fresh transmission. I'll do the 727. So I took that budget and put in it. And because Cope's such a nice guy about it, he actually contributed a little bit too. Cope gave a few things to the build just because he's nice like that. Cope is generous when no one's looking. He's that kind of guy. So, but anyway, yeah, I call it within budget. It was within budget, but it's a nice piece. And like I told Tony, building transmissions at home is fun. Building them there is a blast because, well, I love to hang out with Cope and Lucas. That's first and foremost. We have a great time. But you build them there, you have access to all of that knowledge. And so, like, I'll be doing something just the way that I'll normally do it, which works. And Cope will say, hey, I can show you another way of doing that. So, of course, I'm all ears. And he's just got this, 40 years of knowledge of tips and tricks and stuff. And, it's great. It's great. It really is. Not to mention, any part you ever need is right there. So here, if I need a part, and let's say it's a weird hard part or something, or any part that I don't have, I have a few things. Like, for a 904, I got a lot of little things laying around. But man, for some of this stuff, if I need a hard part, it's like I'm dead in the water for a few days till I get it. Not there. So it's really nice. I know last build I needed a 904 pressure plate. Cope said, yeah, go back here. And he told me this room in the shop. There's a box. Those boxes like you see watermelons and pumpkins come in at the supermarket, those giant boxes this thick. He had one of those full of that part. He has boxes like that full of planetaries and full of pressure plates and stuff like that, accumulator pistons and governors, just huge. I don't know how many. There's got to be. Oh, there has to be more than 1,000 in each of those. But I don't even know how to estimate how many are in it. But those boxes that big, full of those. So I went back there and found one. I guess just out of transmissions that have gotten scrapped. But anyway, when you build there, it's a significant advantage. And it's a lot of fun. Cope has Christmas carols playing in the build room, and it's nice and bright in there, and you got windows all the way down two sides, and it's just great. It's a lot better than just in isolation in my dungeon out here doing a build. LNA Auto Works is here. What's going on? Just go back and edit. Yeah, it is. It's tough. I used to edit a podcast one time. Man, it was so much work. Oh my gosh, it's so much work. And I got a buddy who does video production, and he used to edit for like cooking channels and stuff like that. And he said you get to where you just try to do so much of your editing through the lens when you're producing it because you know how much work and time it's going to take to go back. And I get that, but I don't know, it's not fun either way. But I think just letting the cameras eat is going to be my best bet if I want to get stuff. Because when Cope has a tip for you, you got to get it then, right? The heart was gone for a little while, but I have no idea, Dan. I hate that stupid heart they put in the corner. It's got emoji stuff. I think it's for these teenagers that can't use their words. I don't know. And the engine always plenty of room for Jethro. Yeah. So if you look at that video that I put up, that's what Ron's talking about. He's talking about a few slides I have on the video. I don't remember. Was that my crane, Ron? Was it my Pittsburgh crane? I got a little crane and a big crane. I got a little Pittsburgh crane that swivels around. I take places, and I got an Arcan crane that stays here in the shop because it's big. We just didn't want to do the whole blank extreme performance venom. I don't know. Nonsense shop name. Yes. My gosh. You know, I was looking at Professor P's last video. His car is called the Cookie Monster. I like that. Too many people have these crazy names for cars and channels and stuff. And, not everything has to be something that looks like you put on the cover for AC/DC Back in Black. Not everything has to be rock music, black everything, loud, crazy. Not everything has to be that. The car runs into fives. What else does it need to do? Justin Hill says, I don't eat pie. Too bad. Let's see here. Mom is in the house. Nina Wilburn's here. Bad Tree Productions is here. See, there you go. There's a different channel name. He didn't name it Blake and Hippie and J-Bo's exciting throwing sticks of dynamite garage. No, Bad Tree Productions, and it works. Has a very cool logo. And I was wearing the BTP colors today, all day, until after dinner. Danny Boy says, I kind of understand the manual transmission, but don't know diddly about automatics. I'll tell you, automatics are they're very interesting to me. What the right way to equate it? It's almost like when I did training with firearms, the rifle is like the manual transmission, and the shotgun is like the automatic transmission. They're both great, and they do things a little bit differently. But the automatic is like the thinking man's transmission, where you got to have a lot of thought about the way it works. And the shotgun is like that too. You take a shotgun operator course, a whole lot of it, you got to think your way around using it. And building an automatic is like that too. And speaking of that, Bad Tree Productions, there's a good 904 build on the Bad Tree Productions channel. There's actually several good builds on there, but they were just doing a 904 build with J-Bo. And those guys know how to build transmissions. That actually was, trying to remember, when Bad Tree had a few hundred subs, we were both pretty new at that time. We did a live together. But somewhere in there, I think the reason I found them was because they were showing in their shop. There was this giant thing that looked like a waffle maker. And I said, I know exactly what that is. That's for compressing the spring and the high gear drum of a torque fly. It's exactly what that is. And so I'm like, if anybody who has that in their shop has got to be cool. Only cool people have set that in their shop. So anyway, I think that was the first thing that said, hey, I like these guys. Something torque fly. There you go, J-Bo. There you go. There's J-Bo. Look at that. I talk about his waffle maker and he appears. So J-Bo, right? That'd be a good shop name. Actually, that'd be a good name for J-Bo's channel. So J-Bo. Destroyer 1320 says, happy holidays, y'all. Happy holidays to you, sir. There's Just Mopar Joe. Says, just finished a turkey. Cool. Patrick says, I'm sure that's how Cope talks. Cope is funny. He's a funny dude. One-Eyed Cat says 2024 is a game plan coming together. Yes, it does. For all of us. 2024 is a game plan for all of us. We all have our individual goals, right? And we'll either get on board to accomplish them or we won't. And that's how it's going to work, because time, the clock, and the calendar wait forward no one. Hoosier Garage has entered the chat. Welcome, man. Good to see you. Hoosier Garage, by the way, if you haven't noticed, Hoosier is narrowing an 8 3/4 rear end on his channel. Very cool video. I know that he's past getting the setup bar out and it still spins freely, which means the housing's good and straight. I think that's really cool. So check that out. And I'll tell you, I can't believe more guys aren't doing that, because with 8 3/4 rear ends for A bodies being ridiculously expensive, I can't believe there aren't more people snagging these old C-body and truck rear ends to cut them down. Is it worth $700-800 for you to cut down a housing? It would be to me. So Tony said, got rid of that stupid heart. Tony, how do you get rid of that thing? Does each user have to do it, or can I do it on my end? Because I hate that thing. It makes it hard to read the chat. Joe did a turkey. Yuck. Oh, yeah. %6 recycle is here. Shop 209 is here. Wow, everybody swooped in. Good to see all y'all. Yeah, Hoosier says it's in the way of the text. I totally agree. Yeah, Tony says let them eat and edit later. Yeah, I know. It's so cumbersome doing it that way. But you don't miss anything when you do it that way. That's the good news. Because some of the best things that happen when you're not ready to film at all. Like springs flying across the room and stuff. Hoosier acquired another 727. Have a little collection. Yeah, cool. What year is it? Do you know offhand? Shop 209 says some channel names are just too long. I completely agree. Bad Tree felt a disturbance in the heathen force. I get that. Cope says to tell him about the T-shirt hoard. Okay. I actually got pictures. Cope was doing some cleaning here. Let me go to these. You know all these event shirts, different things. Cope was doing some cleaning and said I could have these shirts he has that are just, ancient shirts. They're cool as can be, don't fit anymore or whatever. Here's one of them. He's got the coronet on the front. Let me get that world focus. So there's one. Here's another. Is that Skid's car? Sure looks like it. Let me turn this one. These are all just cool old Mopar designs from like the 90s. There's another. This is 70 Super B. Rat Pink style. Let's see. Here's another that's an older design of T-shirt. I thought that was really cool. Here's one from the old US 30, which is a dragway that's just up in the weeds up there that's about to just get consumed by nature. But there was one of those. I wish it would focus. There we go. Talk about unobtainium. There's one of Cope's Coronet, your 63 Dodge, whatever it is. Used to have. Usually see it with the wheels up. Here's one that was was a sponsor for something. Thought that was pretty cool. This is actually my favorite one in the horde, and it's not even a design T-shirt. Look at that. Collared staff shirt. That's actually my style for years and years. And I always used to wear collared shirts and dress nicely. And I opened my own company and just totally don't care now. I think for many, auto takes talent to not cry when they drive. I always want to go on about rowing gears and all that. I got to tell you, the thing about automatics is a lot of people don't realize how cool a well-built automatic is. I mean, if you haven't driven a really good manual valve body automatic with a brake, especially like a 4-speed one, you just don't know what you're missing. That soft shifting automatic on the button and all of that, yeah, of course, that's not the same experience at all. J-Bo said, I built that press at work. That thing is cool. That thing is, when I saw that, I said, those are cool people. Wilbur was wrong about the cool people part. Well, maybe, but not in you guys' case. I like the battery, folks. Hoosier might grab another 8 3/4 from Yard Monday. Hoosier, where's one 8 3/4 I'm looking for? Tony said he saw one. I'm considering doing an 8 3/4 in the van. The housing is 3 years only, 72, 3, and 4. And it has to come from a van because of the weird offset. And you can't really narrow one for a van because it's so wide. So if you find a van housing, I'd be interested. I am going to have to order axles for it because I really want to keep the original wheels, which are on the truck pattern. And of course, the 8 3/4 never offered that. So keep that in mind. I'm considering doing an 8 3/4. The easy way for me to do this would be to get the 9 1/4 that came behind the 518s because it has a 392 gear in it already and already has that bolt pattern. That would be easy. The upgrade with the 8 3/4 is one, it's just cool because it's an 8 3/4. Two, it's plenty strong enough, you know that. And I would run a 391. I think that's what gear I'd want to run in it. But and you get rid of the C clips, you get rid of that flat roller bearing, axle bearing. So Tony said the only way I knew to get rid of that hard is to modify the browser on the user end and it doesn't stick. Yeah, I get you. Hoosier said 77, 727. That's a great year. That gives you the spline count in the front. You could run a diesel planetary on that if you wanted to. Don't necessarily have to, but you could. Hoosier says decent artwork. I like Hoosier's artwork. One-Eyed Cat's already planning on tearing up his 8 1/4 No Name Nationals. That 8 1/4 is actually a reasonably stout piece. John, the dirty phone case doesn't help you. Okay. Pop that case apart and get the Windex. Well, it's a matter of focus. That's all it is. And I can tell the difference between it being blurry. Really, the only reason you guys see any of that crap is I got these bright lights on the sides. But I do clean it about once a month. I'll take it apart and clean it. Justin Hill, I did not get an email from you. When did you send it? I did not get any email from Justin Hill. Danny Boyd says, try to be no collar in the summer, no shirt. Andrew Nelson said they had their big feast today. That's good to hear. If you'd rather have a manual, I get to make fun of how slow you shift. You could do a good manual that shifts right. You can do that. I mean, you can slick shift it, and that's, I think, the way to go. Hoosier said, by the way, not all 70, 71 to 73 vans had them. Well, of course, no. Yeah, not all did. Not all did, but a few did. So that's the years you could get them. You couldn't get it at all after 70, actually 74. And I thought that was weird. I thought that was a misprint. But no, I actually looked. I think the 74 model year van, you could get it. And Tony and I figured that out. Tony's Hot Rod Garage, I think, found a 74 model year van with a factory 8 3/4. And I got to look, and I believe it was offered. Max Wedge Dick Dastardly has 7 of those 8 3/4 center sections. Yeah, I've accumulated quite a few too. Haven't built one in a while. Need to do that. I think of some of the stuff I've been into before YouTube. I actually got an 8 3/4 center section out of a 65 Dodge. Was it 65? No, it was a 71. It was a 71. It was a year before they changed over to the 72 to 80 body style. And the thing it was an agriculture truck. It was green. It was a short bed or long. I don't remember. It was a step side, and it had an 8 3/4 with a 557 gear, not 457, 557. Oh, the ring gear on that thing is ridiculous. But they had a problem with the top of the pinion grinding into grinding into the carrier itself. I thought, well, that's weird. That should never happen. These people had put shims on the lower on one side and the upper on the other, only on one side behind the bearing cap. And I'm not sure why they did it. I guess it's because they didn't understand the adjusters for your backlash on the sides. So they were aluminum. And this, I mean, I think this would have been in the 90s. So there's no pictures, video of this thing anywhere, but it was crazy. Farmer gear, yeah, tree climbing gears. I don't know what I'll do with it. I could stick them in the dart sport. Boy, that would be interesting. That would be pretty wild. Doesn't have a ton of power, but a lot of converter, a lot of gear, transmission, and in the rear. It would almost certainly do some wild stuff. One-eyed cat, you're almost certainly going to want an A-body rear for that. And your A-body, I want to say, is 2 inches narrower than the 67 to 76. So you want the narrowest 8 3/4 you can find. Or get one for like a C-body or a truck because it's cheap and narrow it down. But I got to tell you, first, just run it with the 8 1/4. The only bad thing with your 8 1/4, it's not really the strength, it's the gear. The gear in that thing is atrocious. It's like a 245 or something. It's the high. Don has the highest gear I've ever heard of in an 8 1/4 rear. 276 was pretty common. He actually has a step more airplane-ish than that. Max Wedge said Dad ran 557s in the 8th mile junkyard short box didn't last long at all. Well, I'm sure they didn't. I had a friend named Johnny that ran 650 gears in his Maverick in the 8th. 650s. Had a 351. It was a gear jammer car. And man, it just looks so abusive because those guys, they run real heavy flywheels. And they're all small engines. They're all like 330, 350 inch engines at the most. And they let go of the clutch. The front end pops up and slams right back down. A lot of them run the wheelie bars really low, so they jump up and slam back down, then bounce down the track the first 60 feet, jamming gears the whole way. That's how most of those cars are set up. And I always thought that was kind of crazy. .245 makes some interesting runs on the interstate. Oh, yeah, I bet. I like quick better than fast. That's just me. Hoosier says 271 and 8 1/4. Yeah, I can see that. That's pretty common. He said 245 in a dart sport, 2100 at 65. Yeah. To me, a much better solution is run the A500 or 518 and then run like a 391 410. But I used to be much more opposed to the overdrive because a lot of the overdrive stuff sucked. The overdrive on the button, and more than that, a lot of them were just fragile. And I'd had some bad experiences with a $700 R4, and I just said no. Pretty much, you either just get enough torque that you can not run much gear or change out the chunk and all of that. But I got to tell you, the advent of good quality overdrives like the A500 and 518 with good converters available for them and durable stuff, all that's changed a lot of that. I worked on changing it up. I don't need that tall gear. Well, you don't need that tall of a gear anyway. I mean, you're not cruising 190 or something. I mean, that gear is crazy. Gear vendors' thoughts? Gear vendors is a weird, and to me, this is my opinion. Anybody can chime in on what they think of it. Gear vendors is kind of a weird product. I think it was more popular before you had so many good overdrives. The problem with it is you have this giant canister under the floor. It costs a fortune. They're very strong. It's a planetary gear. All that's great. But you can't really split the gear. Like you're not going to turn a 3-speed into a 6-speed with it. That's ridiculous. You're not going to split the gears and split them back. What are you going to do? Launch in first and then hit the gear vendors for the second gear and then turn it off simultaneously to go to second for the third gear and then flick it on for the fourth and simultaneously turn it off to go to direct drive, then turn it. That's ridiculous. Nobody's going to do all that. So you can't really split the gears. It's theoretical, but it's not in practice. If you have a big giant highway hog like a D600 or something, like an old ramp truck, okay, I can kind of see that. That would let you keep the original. What came in those? Like what would have come in that? I guess what was before the MP 435? No, I can't even think what it was. A T18. I don't know what would have been in that truck, but it would allow you to keep that. But I don't know. At that point, I would do something like one of the truck transmissions or an MV 4500 or something if I wanted to keep it manual. I just think there's better options than that gear vendors today. Seatbelts are for quitters. Seatbelts for people who don't want to just die because they thought they were too cool to wear a seatbelt. I'd thought about one for the van highway stuff, not all the. Well, that's true, Hoosier, but here's the thing. You're going to spend more money to get that gear vendors just to have that one highway switch flip when what you could do for the van is put a 518 in it. Why not spend the same money and just do that? That makes way more sense. Exactly. Just do that. All you got to find, Adam, is an old church van. That's all you need. And if you want to get rid of all those electronics, you can run a regular hydraulic valve body in it. That's the hot ticket. That to me is way better than the gear vendor thing. What year at 518? If you can get an 89 to 94, that's the hot ticket. Get one that's got a speedometer cable. If you get a later one, you can do that, but you got to switch the output shaft if you want to have a speedometer. Or not and just run a GPS. But if you want a speedometer, try to find an 89 to 94. And I think the going rate on that core is about $400 for a core, which is all I really care about is a core. But that said, if you want a functional one, it may be more. I don't really know. Most everything I get is not functional when I get it. I have to make it functional. It's the only way I can have anything. Gear vendors are for 3,000 horsepower. They cost. I get all that, Levi. They're very strong. They work. I think gear vendors are great. But when you look at what you actually get for the money, there's really a lot better ways for most people. For most people. If you have some really old vintage, some slow bulldozer fast truck or something, and you want to keep the original transmission and you want to put that in place of a carrier bearing or something, okay, I get all that. That makes sense. But if you think you're going to use that thing for a gear splitter and all of this, especially in a car that has an overdrive that's made for it, and again, overdrives have come a long way. Don't think the 700 R4 garbage like came in a Camaro that just falls apart at 80,000 miles. Don't think that. They've come a long way. You can get good overdrives now. Good valve bodies are out there for them. Good converters are out there for them. Good parts. Andrew Nelson says seatbelts save lives. Ask me how I know. 100%. Shop 209 says, I'm not a gear vendor's proponent, but pro mod or not, if it drives 1,300 miles a week racing at 5 tracks, it is a street car. My definition of street car is really simple. If it does street car stuff, not theoretically, if it actually does street car stuff in the state in which it lives, in other words, however it sits in the garage, you go out and you do street car stuff, it is a street car. It's that simple. That makes a street car. To me, it doesn't matter what kind of fuel you run. It doesn't matter what it's made out of, what the windows are, none of that. None of that matters. if you do street car stuff with it in the state in which you live. So in other words, you're not taking a race car and making these temporary changes so you can go do some street car stuff to say I did street cars. That's not a street car. So it's two pieces. You have to actually do street car stuff and the state in which it lives. Otherwise, it's a race car that you've temporarily modified to do street car stuff with. Just like you can take your street car and temporarily modify it to do race car stuff, right? Same thing in reverse. And these cars that live in the garage under a cover and never ever see any action and they're show cars, those aren't street cars either. Levi says, I'm here because of a seatbelt. Yeah, well, yeah, there's nothing cool about not wearing your seatbelt. It's like, every year, South Carolina doesn't have a helmet law for motorcycles. And every year, these people come down there for bike week. And every year, a few of them die and they're on the local news because they didn't want to wear a helmet for bike week because they're too cool to wear a helmet and they died. What a terrible, stupid tax they have to pay. Just wear a freaking helmet. Yeah, Blake's been in a crash too. He's asking Andrew how many crashes he's been in. Yeah. Oh, I know one thing. Both of those have at least been in one really good one, notwithstanding anything else they've had. I'm not crazy about seatbelts either. I never wore one until I was 16 years old. They made me wear one for driver's ed. I didn't complain. I just didn't think about it. I've just worn it ever since. And it actually was, I want to say it was right before I got my driver's license when Virginia put a seatbelt law into effect. There actually wasn't a seatbelt law until I was, I don't know, I'm guessing 13, 14, 15, something like that. Had a guess. Rob's Rods and Streetcars is here. How's it going? I know, Rob, you were in a little bit of pain and didn't want to host your live because you were recovering a little bit. So I hope you're doing better. Levi says these pro mods they do it for drag and drive. Yeah, and any purpose somebody wants to build a car for, that's all cool and fine. But to me, the streetcar thing is just really freaking simple. If you just go out into whatever natural state it lives in and do streetcar stuff with it, it is a streetcar. Pretty simple. Anything else you do to kind of manipulate that definition, you're only kidding yourself. And we kind of had to go definition like that because we have the line is so blurred between trying to go how fast and pump gas and all that. All this turbo and stuff today has just changed all of that. So really, you can't go by any of that anymore. Blake's got to run, get the kids in bed. They're doing their big feast tomorrow. Well, cool, Blake. Y'all have a wonderful dinner tomorrow and tell everyone I said hi. And tell J-Bo I said so. Andrew's had a wreck on the track, on the road, and 3 or 4 fender benders. 2 on the road. Yeah. Ooh, man. Shop 209 says my junk runs 10s naturally aspirated with pump gas 383. I can get in it right now and drive it to California. Awesome. And if you actually do that, actually do streetcar stuff with it actually is a streetcar. If you don't do streetcar stuff with it, it is not a streetcar. I mean, I don't, if you have a pro mod that you drive on the street and you take to the grocery store and then you leave it like that in your garage or driveway and you get back in it and go to the post, that's a streetcar too. Crazy one, but it is. LP94 says, howdy. How you doing, man? It's going to be a good video come up on LP94's channel pretty soon too, I think. Be on the lookout for that. Danny Boyd says, "Have you had any desire to be in California?" Yeah, a beautiful state. It's just not friendly to visit for patriots, really, or anyone. Hey, there's JB's little shop. How you doing, man? I said 700 R4 and JB appears. What if that was over my shoulder? Got an envelope sitting back there. Some of the drag and drive cars are pure race cars, but outfitted to be able to live out for exactly. But they don't live in that state. That's not their natural state. Therefore, they are not street cars. They are race cars modified to survive a street drive. That would be just like the NMCA cars when they had to do the 25-mile cruise. Well, like NASCAR, those are race cars designed to go 500 miles. You can make a race car go whatever distance you need it to go. JB's little shop. Did anyone tell you that you need a 904 torque flight? JB, I'm going to tell you, if you can find a 904 torque flight from an 81 to 83 AMC with the GM bell housing that came in the post office cheap, that would be the hot ticket for your S10. Unfortunately, I don't think the 2.8 will fit that standard GM bell housing. I think it's slightly different. Well, it's a thought anyway. What did he say? Jeg sold out to Chinese company? Yep, that's what I heard too. And you know what? Spin it any way you want. We all know exactly how that's going to turn out. The same way it always turns out. It never turns out good for the end user here in America building stuff. Oh no. JB said my boy got rear-ended tonight. Oh no. Hope he's okay. I'm game on the trans adapter play. Yeah, so that's what you need, JB. An 81 to 83 torque flight from a post office Jeep with the GM bell housing. I'm telling you, there is such a thing. I've seen pictures of a couple of them. I've seen one in person. They exist. And if you find one, I can help you build it. Be killer in that S10. Killer. Be just perfect. Jason's Garage is here. How you doing? Yeah, Brooks Emilion, we hope you're okay. Do keep us updated on that, man. Is starter wrong side? We'll twist him up, or it doesn't matter because the GM starter bolts to the engine anyway. It works just fine. It's designed, in fact, it's designed to bolt up to the Iron Duke. Is what it's designed to bolt up to. That's what they had in those post office Jeeps. And I think to make it work, you need there's a little pilot hub you can still get, and I think you need an AMC converter. Dean says this alloy AMC XJ 2.8 trans casing. Yeah, but torque flight is wasted behind the Iron Duke. Yeah, maybe, Danny Boyd, maybe so. But I got to tell you something. Think about this. If they made that to put behind the post office Jeep, you know how tough a transmission has to be to do that every day? That's like, I can't think of many jobs other than tractor pulling that are worse for transmission. Demo Derby has got to be rough on a transmission. It's got to be rough on the Sprag. Think about it. Those guys are slamming back and forth between reverse and drive. So no low band apply, slamming it back and forth. Tractor pulling, of course. Post office Jeep, probably about the worst street driven thing you could do with one. Andrews Nelson says, anyone who wants to define what a street car is needs to go to a drag and drive. I've seen hundreds of stock cars that don't get driven 10 miles a year, and pro mods go 1,000 miles a year after year. Exactly. That's why my definition actually works. If you do street car stuff with it in the state in which it lives, it is a street car. It really, there is no more definitive. Like, I know Professor P was talking about this, and he always said his standard was if you could use pump gas. And that was very, I probably had a definition similar to that, at one time, because that meant so much more than it does now. But with all the engine management systems and aluminum heads and turbos, forget it. It just, you just can't do it that way. And for the same reason you say. Jason remembers had a 904 in post. Exactly. They do exist. They do exist. If you can find one of those, JB, if you can find one, if you can get the converter, do it, plus the little pilot thing. If you can get those two things, do it. But if you get that transmission, I'm happy to help you build it. They were chosen for durability over the long haul. Yeah, they're tough. I love a 904. I think what they should have done, Chrysler should have done, the 904 came out first in 1960, and then the 727 62, the modern aluminum case, I want to say, had a rear pump. I might be a little wrong on my years. I think they should have just scaled up the 904 to 727 proportions instead of changing the things they changed. That's just my opinion. The 904's got a better sprag design. I think it has a better forward drum design. I think the 904 overall is a better design, but overall, the shafts are smaller. They're not as durable a transmission for that reason. They had stamped steel planetary carriers. I think the 904 was a better overall design. Jason worked in the plant where they assembled. Cool. I think I would like to go sometime to the Kokomo transmission plant, even though I know they're not making them anymore. I'd like to go there. I think I could get in. I'd like to go just to, if nothing else, to see the place where my favorite transmissions came from. Danny Boyd says, I hear Steve Maggs is going to make it back. I hear he's improving. I hear he's making a lot of improvements. So I think that's great. And since Maggs came up, I've got to show it. Shame Coke's not in here. He made me this. He said, Steve Maggs is back. Maybe he'll do a video on my van. Get it to focus. There you go. Maggs has actually seen that van. I should find the clip where he commented on it. If you do a transmission for JB, me and the Catacomb, well, you know what? If JB can find one of those freaking things, I'd be more than happy to help him do it. The 904 is not bad at all. NSB says we're putting a 904 behind the Gem 3 Hemi in the 66. Yeah, exactly. And those guys, they like fast stuff. Buff Del Campo had a 258 AMC 6 with the 904. Is that a different case, or do you use adapter plate? It is a different case. It is a different case. I think they called that the Torque Command. Guts are all the same, though. The best 904, in my opinion, was the 89 and up. See if I can find a picture. Let's see if I can do this without too much. Shoot, I took all of them off of my phone to do that video, but a 727 has a sprag that's pressed into the case, And I learned something new about press-in sprags this week I had no idea about. Yeah, I knew that would bring Coke back in here. Let's see. Okay, I'll show you a picture. So the 727 Sprag just presses into the case. This is the Sprag that's in the 89 and up 904. You have 11 bolts that bolt that thing through the output shaft support into the case. Look at that. And then the Sprag, the springs and rollers are in that little cage. They just drop in. I think it's a very superior Sprag design. B&R is here. How's it going? Yeah, B&R. Tell me that's not the stoutest Sprag design you've ever seen. You'd rip the car in half before you broke that. Look at that thing. Oh, and also in 89, they went from 10 roller to 12 roller in the 904. AMC said, Danny Boy says AMC had their own bell bolt pattern and no transmission their own to bolt to it. They used GM and Chrysler transmissions, but they had their own bolt pattern. Yes, they did. Why? I don't know. Why do people buy Saabs? I don't know. Twisted Mopar says, I've never heard of 904, but I've never heard of 727 either. Yeah, well, you can certainly heard either one. The 727 is more apt to blow up a drum because of the press-in Sprag, and because the drum is bigger and you go further from the center, the centrifugal force, and with enough RPM with a broken Sprag, they'll blow up. 904, you'll spend money to make it survive behind horsepower. Well, you do the same with the 727. Yeah, Dr. Go. That's the, well, okay, so this is that's a 89 and up. I don't know if I have one in here, and if I did, I'd have to hunt for it. But the earlier 904s had a pinned-in Sprag. They were pinned into the case, which is still it's still stronger than the press-in. But if you do a bolt-in Sprag, it's got the 4 bolts that hold it in. And I got to tell you, I had a hard time wrapping my head around that bolt-in Sprag, the 727, because the 904 bolts in with the bolts that go through the output shaft support. You have to go to longer bolts when you do a bolt-in Sprag in a 727. But what you're really doing is you're making it just like a 904, but with 4 bolts instead of 11. It's the same thing. Also, you can't get a sense for it here, but that Sprag is the outside of it's just flat. Okay, it just drops in bolts in. The 727, it actually has a reeded edge like a quarter, and so it presses into the bore, and it literally interference fits into the bore. And something I had no idea about. When I took out the Sprag out of Don's transmission, there was aluminum shavings everywhere. And I thought, what in the world is that? Because I can clean this case and everything. And I didn't know what that was. Cope explained that they put a groove in the Sprag to catch those shavings when they pressed it in the case at the factory. And then when you knock that out of there, those Sprags are seeing daylight for the first time since it was built. I had no idea. That's what the groove is for on the Sprag. And then when you put the new Sprag in, it doesn't fill up with aluminum because those grooves have already been cut. But I just thought that was interesting. Stock 727 internal. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. There are some things about a stock 727 that I just think really, I've seen too many of them bend the strut to not reinforce the strut. That's a common thing. The 904 used a much shorter strut, so they didn't have as big a problem with that. But I know at least 2 or 3 people that have bent struts on that and lost second gear and changed a transmission because of it. I got a message today about one that lost second gear. I said, drop the pan, see if the strut's not bent. Lay it in the pan. Dakota says, has it happened yet? Nope, it has not. Not that I know of. I'll look later. Mopar Patrick, how's it going? Mostly old parts and rust. DNR says, what's the maximum safe engine RPM into a 904 with stock drums and a good parts used, budget friendly? 2,000 cash talking. $2,000 go a long way, but it won't get you all the billet shafts and stuff. I don't know on RPM. You can run a lot of RPM on them, more than on a 727 drum. Be a good question for Cope, though, or Professor P. He did an all billet 904 for the Cookie Monster. And I believe he runs an aluminum drum. Andrew Nelson, good night, man. See you again soon. Levi's ready for a number on the orange paper. It's coming soon. Yep, it'll happen soon enough. Dakota said 976 for 2 bear heads. Okay. What bear heads? Dr. Go, if you're watching, I'll show you this. This is the back side of the case with that sprag bolts in. So you've got 5 bolts that go through the case into the sprag, and then you've got 6 more that go through the case, through the output shaft support, and into the sprag. That's a total of 11. Looks like there's only one missing if you kind of count around the dial. But that's how you get 11. I'm surprised they actually made all of those holes for that, but they did. And it doesn't go anywhere. I'm going to do something just because I have never in my life seen it done. I'm actually going to calculate up the surface area that you have on your frictions between a 904 and a 727 and a 4678, both bands and clutches, and actually do an apples to apples comparison of how much surface area you get on your frictions with 3 clutches, 4 clutches, 5 clutches, 6, and so forth. And I'm going to take into account the grooves for the oil. Because, as you know, you can run deeper, more grooves for high gear, and typically you run fewer for the direct because it stays on all the time. But you can run the direct clutches in high. I'm gonna really figure all of that out and make a little report and just share it because I just think it would be interesting. We all want to know. We all kind of speculate. We all just kind of assume. We all just kind of guess. Well, we'll take the guesswork out of it. Easy enough to add up, right? All you need to do is a caliper and a little bit of math. Most of the old parts and rust says we're stopped to get $2.69 a gallon gas. Yesterday, I was traveling a little bit. I saw gas under $3 a gallon most places. Heavens Mopar says, hello, everyone. Good, there's no number on the paper. That means I have lots of time. Famous last words. The people who are hammering right now before the number appears are far more likely to get it done when the number does appear. You know it's coming. You know about what it's going to be. You should do it. Ron English, it's going to be math that probably only transmission nerds care about, but I think it'll be interesting. We're going to find out how close surface area of friction materials is between 727, 904, 998, 999, and the 46s. We're going to find out. because you can run more total clutches in a 904, but obviously the clutches are bigger in the 727. So I don't know anybody who's actually done that math. We're going to do it. If I don't know who's going to come up with a topic today, I'd have done it this afternoon. But I'll do it. I'll do it. I really want to know. I want to actually have the percentage number you can give people. Yeah, that's just one facet. I'm going to do it for the band too. The band will be easier than the clutches, but I just want to know. And while I'm at it, it'd be very easy to figure out cross-section area on the shafts. And I don't know what formula I'm going to have to use to get it, but I'm probably going to have to figure out length versus torsional twist in the material. But I'm kind of curious what the strength difference is in the shafts, input and output shaft. That may take a little studying to figure out. But cross section is easy, but it's the length of material and torsional properties. We'll figure it out. Ron English is planning a build for No Name Nationals. Cool. Sounds good. Auto Salvage Outlaws saw $2.60 a gallon gas yesterday. Right on. Still a little over $3 here, but I did see it on the road at under $3 a lot of places. Pretty good crew here tonight. Yeah, always a good crew here tonight. 38 POS Racing, how you doing? 38, what year was that transmission out of, that core I got from you? What year was that, if you remember? Heavens Mopar says his hands and toes are numb. He's remodeling the garage so he can fit a charger inside it soon. Hashtag that will be a car again. Auto Salvage Outlaw says this is where the good channels come. I agree. It's a great community here. It's great. occasionally one that shouldn't, but that's okay. Got a button and a boot for that. Easy enough. Most of the old parts and rusts, I think I'm getting around 50 gallons of fuel. Cool. Buff says, I remember 2 years ago, gas was $1.51 here. Yeah. 96 or 7, 38 says. Did that have a cable operated speedometer on it, 38? I think it did. And I didn't think they had that after 94 or 5. Most of the old parts and rest is 25 degrees here. Let's see what it is here. I have no idea. It is 40 degrees here. High of 52 today. Yeehaw. 46 tomorrow. Ugh. Got some stuff I want to do outside tomorrow. $38 says, I think it was electronic. Yeah, I think it was like a Hall effect sensor plug-in right there, but I can't remember. Regardless, I'm going to run it hydraulic. Justin Hill says 27 here, so we've got 25 up in Indiana. We got 27 high north in Idaho, and got 40 here. Auto Salvage Outlaws, what's the temperature where you are? We'll get a cross section of the country from north to south. Two Hack says hello, working in the garage and listening. How you doing, Mr. Hack? Auto Salvage got stopped by a tree he hit at the wife's SUV, and he's in the doghouse. Well, I hope you're all right. 38 says, I don't remember unhooking a cable. Yeah, well, that's probably right. Not a problem. I will swap it out. That van will be my tow rig. 23. Oh, we got the weather board going now. So Auto Salvage says it's in the 40s. Don says 30 in central Pennsylvania. He's actually farther north, the middle of Pennsylvania. Don, I looked, this 3 hour drive to the 2 hour and 55-minute drive to the New York state line. Ugh. 33 degrees in Spokane, 23 in Michigan. There you go. And Duax is doing a Pontiac 400. That's right. Do a good video on how to set the hydraulic lifter lash. All 30 seconds that takes. Justin Hill's ready for warm weather. I hate cold weather. If I could go in a coma for January and February and not have to live through those 2 months, I would be happy to do so. I absolutely hate the cold. This is terrible. So years ago, I don't remember how many years in a row they ran it, the bench press competition for rec sports at Virginia Tech. They would have that thing the middle of February every year. And as much as I remember about the competition and how much fun it was, I remember how absolutely nasty, bitter cold it was every year. Oh, it was so awful. Oh, I remember setting up for it one year. You have to move a bench from upstairs in the gym to down, and I was borrowing 100-pound plates from the gym down the road. They were very gracious to let us have 100-pound plates, and taking those things in 20-degree weather out. It was just the worst weather to do anything outside in. It's awful when you remember the weather that you had to deal with for an indoor event because it sucked so much. Does nothing special says 40 degrees here. That's the same as here. Does nothing special. Whereabouts are you? It's 40 here in Christiansburg. Dean Stevenson said beers do that. I don't know. I don't drink beer. 38 says, I need to run over my square, doing some remodeling in the kitchen in the 1950s house. Been there, done that very recently. Outside Winston-Salem. Okay, so your weather's probably not too dissimilar than here. Does nothing special. You ever go to Farmington Dragway? I would assume you do. B&R is telling 2X how to adjust the rocker nuts on that Pontiac. Well, Jeff's got it. Jeff's got it. He circle half a turn. That's it. That is it. There is nothing more to it. Jeff's got it. He's good. Auto Salvage is 45 here and got 4 inches of south snow on the ground. What is south snow? What is that? OMG. Does nothing special. Said I used to live there. Where, in Christiansburg? 38 says our best swap meets the first weekend in March. Yeah, Indy. Indy's like first weekend in March. I've been to it one time. I went to it last year, and Dust Devil Brian and Jed and Barsness and Two Hacks and Cope and I and Lucas from his shop, Hoosier Garage Adam, Smoker and Sean. A lot of us were there at that. A lot of fun. Four inches of leaves. There you go. Indy is great. I go over. I've been once. I've been to Indy exactly once. There's two hacks tonight, Indy. So there's Sherry walking around, and I had the number with me. Clock never sleeps. Oh yeah, Bigfoots and Mopars. Right, Mark was there's a lot of people there. 202 then, yeah. 21 here. Did I win? No. If it's 21 degrees where you are, you did not win. J-Bo, if you were to just drive it straight, how long would it take you to get to Canada? Just curious. I have no clue. Does nothing special. Said Farmington didn't run much this year. They had to tear the track up. Oh no. Really? Oh, that's a good track. How are they going to put it back? Are they going to do more concrete? Or are they going to improve it any? That's a great track. Danny Boyd says if you get a clock high enough, it'll slow down, though. Danny Boyd, if we can live another, I don't know, couple million more years, the hours will have 30 days in them because the Earth is going to slow down in its rotation around the sun. Let me know how that turns out. Leave a message. They brought in a company to fix it ready for next year. Yeah, I was just curious if they made any improvements. I'll have to check that out. I didn't get to Farmington this year. I'm not sure if I went to the swap meet this year. I don't think I did. I went last year. I remember as soon as I stepped out of the van, I literally walked. I bet I didn't walk 100 feet and the rain started. Just bummer. But, it is what it is. Auto Salvage Outlaw says, word on the tube is that some of us pays people to work on our cars. I pay for an inspection sticker every year. I mean, I've paid for a few alignments. I don't have an alignment machine here. I have borrowed an alignment machine and done my own a few times. Bigfoots and Mopar says time of year where it's dark when I get up and go to work when I get up. Oh, yeah. Farmington's an old strip. Yes, it is. I like that track. One-Eyed Cat says I don't pay. I barter when I can. One-Eyed Cat and I bartered. Worked out great. As long as you got honorable people, it's easy to work stuff out. Honorable people is all it takes. The best contract you can possibly have is a handshake as long as you have honorable people. I just try to minimize dealing with scoundrels. That's the best thing to do. Cool. 38 sent me an underhood build sticker. Cool. And Justin Hill, by the way, you had mentioned an email. I don't ever recall getting an email from you, but if you resend it, I'll check it. Make sure you send that to John at PrincetonDragway.com. Oh, cool. So here we go. Model code DGT. Awesome. Thanks, man. That's great. Wow. 38 hooked me up. I'll dig into that a little bit. Thank you. Used to be that a handshake was legal and binding. Well, in Virginia, a contract has to be in writing to be enforceable. However, you can enforce written memoranda to an oral contract. That's one cool thing about our state is that it's so old. We have a lot of cool case law. So for example, if I told Don, "Hey Don, this is the deal. We're going to do this," and then I just said later, I sent him a text and says, "Nah, we're not going to do that." I now have written memoranda of what we said we were going to do, and that is now enforceable on the oral contract that wasn't in writing. So 38 says, I try to document my junk. Two Hacks says, Jaba, that says like a Western song. 38, that sounds like a Western song. Danny Boyd says, nowadays you're right when you blame somebody else. We have the most blaming other people, excuse making, lack of accountability society I've ever seen in my life right now. It's nauseating. Justin Hill says Hotmail. I don't have a Hotmail, Justin. Yeah, I'm going to put my email in the chat just so. But Justin, if you send it here, I'll get it. Mexican Spec is here. How's it going? Tony's That's No Lie. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Then people sit back because people won't help others, wonder why knowledge isn't passed on. I don't think as much people don't want to help others as much they can't help others, because there's some people that just can't help for a variety of reasons. There's a variety of reasons why some people can't be helped. Brandon, well, that's a whole other topic. Farmington's doing a flea market swap meet testing. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I might actually be going down to Shadyside that weekend to see Andy. We'll see. If I do, I'm sure it'll be video. But yeah. "38 says they look at me weird when I admit I'm wrong or screwed up at work. They don't know how to handle it." Well, everybody messes stuff up. It's just, how do we respond to it? How do we go forward? How do we rally? That's really what matters. I mean, I make fun mistakes all the time. I mean, I dig one doing Don's transmission. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm sitting there looking at the transmission, and my brain just, for some reason, told me to put the lip seal in the other way. And I go to put the servo in, and I realize, hey, that's backwards. I said, wait a minute, that's not right. So I took it off and I put it back. That stuff happens. I mean, it's how we respond to it. That's all it is. JB's back. Glad you're here. Oh yeah, I've messed some stuff up good. I remember one time I let the torque converter slide forward in a Hyundai Excel, putting the transmission in, and wound up breaking the pump. It was a dumb thing I did when I was I don't know how old. I was probably like 18, 19 years old. And I learned from that. And you know what? I've never done that since. I've never had a pump creep forward and break it, but I paid that stupid tax once and learned from it and went on, right? And I changed that pump. I had never been into a transmission when I did that. That was before I ever built my first transmission, so that was interesting. I had just gotten a computer at home, so there was very limited internet resources when that happened. But I think I looked in a shop book and made a pump puller, which I still use to this day. It's a piece of flat bar with all thread and nuts on it. And I'll stick 2 ratchet wrenches on there, thread it into the pump, and then just zip, 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 both at the same time. And then if it looks like it's crooked, I'll just zip more on one side until it pops free. That's what I could put that on video sometime, my pump puller that I made in whatever year that was. Like, I don't know. It was a while back. Busted front pump, it happens. Yeah, it happens once. It happens once. There you go, Justin. I got it. I got it. So I got that email. So you need to send me something. There you go. Twisted Mopar plays darts. That's cool. I have friends that play darts and we're good at it. I think that's neat. Twisted Mopar's been retired 3 years. Going to get even more retired next year. Comes along. Sounds good. Do what makes you happy. Who's ready for Christmas? Whatever. I don't get to do Christmas with all the family and stuff like I used to. So to me, it's just another cold day to get through. The cool thing about Christmas is that all of the obnoxious Christmas decorations finally come down. These people, it's like I think all these people were inspired by Chevy Chase around here. Wendy's working on a Ford Freestyle. Okay. Auto Salvages got a little bit of a pause on posting videos. Okay, be around. It's a shame they don't make people pause when they do, malicious lives. Going after schedule a live just to trash somebody for an hour, and they can just do it with impunity. It's funny what YouTube cares about. Does nothing special said my dad watched 2 guys take a 3-speed Allison out of a Terex scraper. Had all the parts on the floor in a huge spiral. So you can remember how, ooh, that just sounds frightening. But I got to tell you, when you take a transmission apart, this is the way that let's see if I have any. No, wait there. You take one apart at Cope's place, and let's see, I don't think I have any from the last build. Now this is after I took them out of the cooker and organized them. That's a 904 right there. Or no. This was the no. I said that. I wasn't even looking. That's the $700 Ford that was on the bench before that. That was on there. Okay. Mine. You literally just pour everything. Like, see that basket? Literally, all the snap rings and springs and rollers and everything is just dumped in there. Everything. And it all finds a home. At work, I'm the guy they have to work on the stuff we don't work on. Right. Got to have that guy. I can see you being that guy, definitely. DNR says, I remember the starter motor bolters, the starter motor bolt snapping off on a small block Chevy equipped GMC. Sometimes broken motor block boss. Bad time. Yeah, I can see that. I'm I like the starter stud on a transmission, the convenience of it, but only where you have enough room to get the starter in. Like if you have manifolds, it's nice, but most of the time it gets in the way on anything with headers. So, eh. Auto Salvage Outlaw says Justin Hill means you have this time in 365 days to get a car for No Nationals. No, it does not, sir. No, no, we're fewer than 365 days away to the No Name Nationals. In fact, it's if it's about the same. If it's the same day as last year, we have just under 10 months. Justin Hill says, "You buy me one, and I'll be there." Well, Justin Hill, if you want to participate, make it happen, man. Danny Boyd, I don't know what 300-ish. Yeah, probably about 300-ish days. That's probably pretty close. But in the coming days, we're going to have it all together and announced, and we will do an announcement approximately New Year's Eve, probably be whatever that Friday is before that. And there will be a number on the orange paper, and we will have cool and fun things to announce. Yeah, Justin Hill, if you want to build something, great time to do it. And you've got a mentor right up there in Barrows, right where you live. So there you go. Mexican Spec says he's good, but had a disappointing Thanksgiving. The restaurant had no turkey, even though they said they did. Well, that sucks. Orange, the one-eyed cat says, "Don't wait for the orange paper. Every day closer is a day lost." That is correct, sir. In fact, I'm pinning that comment for the rest of the chat because that is truth. That is truth. Don't wait for the orange paper. I'm telling you, this is not just freebie time that doesn't matter. You know it's coming. Use this time. Think about it. You've got time now, time off from work, time over the holidays, time you can slide in and get stuff done. Even if it's freezing cold outside, this is a great time to work on your budget, great time to work on your timeline, great time to clean things, great time to organize your workbenches and whatever. This is a good time to get things done. And this time is free because when we announce that, you're going to know how many days, but it's coming. It's coming whether you wait for the orange paper or not. Last year, yes, people didn't know about it till we announced it. So there was no getting ahead of it. But last year, people like One Eyed Cat, he said, "Hey, I know it's coming. I'm not going to wait for a number to appear on the paper. I'm just going to get to hammered." And guess what? Don got his 500 subs. He got his car done and all of that. And any of these people that say, "Oh, well, 500 subs. Oh, that's so much work. Oh, I don't have enough time." Don just did it. I mean, and the secret is as simple as what he says. Don't wait for the orange paper. Just do a little bit every day and just keep doing it, make it happen. And he did. Mexican Spec said he's getting the same place to make a turkey for Christmas. Cool. Buck is getting ready. Yes, Buck is. Buck is not waiting for the orange paper. That's a big part of the secret, so to say. Don't wait for the orange paper. Do it. I'll tell you what, when you get down to where there's 5 days to go and you're sitting here saying, "Do I go or do I pull the plug?" How much then would you give to have these extra days now? Because it's going to be just over a month before we announce the date, right? So you got 30 free days now. How much will you want those 30 days in September? And you have them right now. You know it's coming. Wendy says she's going to be the first on the new calendar. Yep. Yeah, just general advice is I would try to come up with a modest plan, at least for your first year, that you know you can make, right? Because you'll have all kinds of time to keep moving forward, keep improving, and that kind of thing. The big thing is just get there and fellowship with all of your YouTube friends. That's the big thing. So even if your plan is, I know I can't get the car built, I know I don't have the budget, that's cool. If you could just come and hang out with us and go to Lambert's and have fun and whatever, do that. Then maybe your budget allows, maybe the first year, maybe not, to get a car together in there. Like I'll tell you, a good example was what Jason Falk did last year, indirect connection. He had to make a decision: am I going to leave the Poly 318 in my Plymouth, or am I going to put the 440 in it? And so his decision was, you know what? I'm going to leave the Poly in it and make sure the car runs and starts and stops and steers and does all the stuff it's supposed to do, and not get myself caught with an engine half done and not make it. He said that was a great decision. I had a blast. And you know what? He'll probably do the 440 for this year. But I would say set a goal you know you can make, and you know you can make early, and then you can keep adding ornaments to that tree, so to speak, as time goes on. And it'll be less stressful, and you will find out that even if the car isn't done, it's still totally worth coming just to come hang out and have a great time with all of us. Twisted Mopars is I'm getting ready to remove motor and transmission. You're in a little bit different category though. You guys who have seasoned cars they've built and run a lot of years, you're in a little bit different situation. And Two Hacks the same way. But Two Hacks, he bit off a lot for the first year, but I got to tell you, man, did he ever do a lot for the first year? Oh my gosh. Two Hacks likes to overachieve. He sleeps about 1 hour a day. He's you just have to know Jeff off of YouTube. He's quite a study. What can I say? I really don't know anybody else like Jeff. One Eyed Cat says didn't realize how much we got done on the car until after it was done and behind us. That's because Don worked on it every day. Every day he did a little something every day, and he had that time frame and that calendar and that plan laid out, and he worked on it every day and nibbled at it. And so when he looked at the totality of what was done, it was pretty amazing. Because when you do a little bit each day, it adds up to a lot. So same thing this year. BNR says it's a good event for drag and drive low budget. Sure. It makes a great personal drag and drive event. A lot of people do that. Andy Wood says he's doing it next year. I know we keep getting closer to him having that 4-speed overdrive Casper-Matic. We keep getting closer. There's a test truck up at CRT right now. So probably see some video coming out on that pretty soon. Two hacksaw, yeah. Mexican Spec said, how many of you guys want to buy a car for next year's race? Dusters, stick shift Malibus, Chevelles, and Fairmonts. We have trucks. Yeah, I don't know what the politics of getting a car back from Mexico is. And I got to say, of everything on that list right there, you probably wouldn't guess what I would be most interested in. It'd be the Fairmont. I've always had a thing for Fairmonts. Yeah, I think that's really cool, Mexican Spec. I'd love to be able just to do car tourism there. I really need to figure out with you how to do that, but I got to tell you, the prospect of traveling to Mexico is terrifying. If it's over 25 years old, NAFTA allows it to cross. I just seems terrifying to me, but still seems cool. Kind of like to do it. One-eyed cat says, guys, a turbo Fairmont in town runs cool. Yeah, I love Fairmonts. I don't know why a lot of people wouldn't hot rod a Fairmont Dakota. They're Mustangs. That's what they are. They're Fox bodies. But I do love the Fairmont. My dream Fairmont would be like a four-door Fairmont Futura with a 351 Cleveland. I didn't know Steve Meggs had a Fairmont. Maybe we can ask him about it. I know when he gets healthy, I'm sure he's going to be backlogged and all of that stuff. But when things are cool and he can do it and whatnot, I'd like to have him back on here. So I'll reach out to him, but I want to make sure that he gets healthy and all of that stuff. And I'm thrilled that he's making good progress, but I'd like to have him back on here. Mexican spec, I'd like to do it. We'll see. We'll see. Dakota says 4.6 double overhead cam. You're not speaking my language, kid. I don't know what to think of that. He has an AFX Fairmont. Okay, I knew he had an AFX car. I didn't know it was a Fairmont. Yeah, that's cool. Fairmonts are all V8 automatic or floor mounted stick shift 2 or 4-door wagon. Gosh, oh my gosh, a 4-door wagon, 4 on the floor Fairmont just wouldn't get much cooler. Just wouldn't get much cooler. I'd love to have that. It's the easiest country to enter. I'm sure it is. Coming back is easy as long as you have a passport or not. It's the engine he put in the Fairmont. That's a shame. No Mexican spec. We'll just see what happens. We'll just see what happens. I got some stuff that's got to get cleared off my plate. Just has to. Danny Boyd loves the two-stroke Detroits. Yeah, they are cool. Mexican spec posted a Ford Fairmont with a 302 and a 3-speed manual. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing some car tourism there. I just have to see. I mean, had a DVD sit on top of my speakers and knocked it off. I watched a movie, 1 Hour Photo. I'd never seen that. It's pretty cool. Good little movie. It's creepy. Got Robin Williams in it. Buckdale Campo says every Fox body I had was either a Fairmont, Futura, or a Zephyr. Justin Neal says, I will race with my bike. You can race a bike. Sure can. Fairmont is probably lighter than a Fox Mustang. I have no idea. I wouldn't think it is. The body looks a little bigger, but man, they're cool. I just love the Fairmont. Four-door Fairmont wagon, 4-speed. Just be harder to be cooler than that. The Squire has the wood grain, but it was a V8 stick shift. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, that Fairmont wagon that Micah Monteleone, Andy Wood's friend, has the wood grain. Looks great. But his has the pointy front end. I like the square front end they had, late 70s, early 80s. His is a little later into the 80s and has the pointy front end. Buff says, I don't think the Fairmont's like, I agree. I don't either. I would think that the Fairmont would be a fuzz heavier. Twisted Mopar says, I almost bought a Fairmont Wagon 302 Auto, then I regained consciousness. The Auto Salvage Outlaw says it's 300 pounds heavier. That sounds just about right to me. That sounds right. That sounds totally believable. Danny Boyd says a stripped down two-door Fairmont's probably quite light. Yeah, I would imagine. Just Hill says I look tired. Yeah, probably am. I don't know. This size is giving me a little bit of a fit. I don't know why. These bright lights don't help any, but man, once I get something like that in my eye, I can't ever get it to stop. I'm not that tired though. I actually got up kind of late today. My alarm clock is gray and weighs 54 pounds and barks at me when it's time to get up. So there's no sleeping in with him. All of our Fox body Mustangs, the 4-eyed models. Yeah, I like the 4-eyed model Fox bodies. I do like those. GLX had the 6-cylinder. Yeah, that's cool. I like the 6-cylinder in the Mustang. I had a friend that had an 80 model Mustang. It was black. It was had black with red interior, and it was a 200 inline six. And he regrets selling that car. Bought it for 200, sold it for 7. Nick the Van Man 90 says, I may have something cool to show you tomorrow. Well, Nick, when you do, let us know. I'm sure you will. Nick's working on something for he's working on something for spring and summer, and knowing him, he will chisel away with great discipline, and we will all see it at No Name Nationals in 2024. He's one of those guys that he will sacrifice personal time to get things together. He did that last year, so I fully expect whatever he has, he's going to have it ironed out and ready. JB and 38 lurking, come back in to wave and remind us they're around. Hey, there's T's Good Time Garage. Thanks for swinging by. T's Good Time Garage, I saw him comment on my transmission video. One of the first videos I saw of T's Good Time Garage, he was putting together 727 for his car. I always gravitate toward people who do their own transmissions. There's something cool about that. And so he put it together, and I loved what he said. He says, well, it does transmission things. So I said, right on. This is a cool guy. T, that was the transmission that you had in Sikeston, wasn't it? The one that you put together on your channel? I learned something on Don's that I didn't know before, and that is the way the 727 has a separate hub on the forward drum. See, in the 904, it's all one piece, but on the 727, it's 2 pieces. They put a spacer in there. If you have wear on that bevel spring, you'll see a lot of slop. You don't have that with a 904. So I wound up replacing the bevel spring in Don's, and that took out most of that. So just something I didn't know. The spring was fine, shape was fine, but that little bit of wear made that difference. Nick says he's ready for No Name Nationals 2024. Can't wait. Where's the fast forward button? Well, I got a whole lot to do before now and then, but the number will appear soon. Justin Hill's asked if JB's son's okay. Yeah, JB, do please give us an update on Brooks the Millionaire when you can. Uh, just let us know. I know he's young and resilient and all, but just keep us posted. We do care. Twisted Mopar Garages. My son is a Ford guy. He's really skinny. He'll learn. Well, if you have a Ford, you need to be skinny because you don't have as much power to get you down the track. JB says, I've watched a bunch of videos of Mopar transmissions. They seem to be easy. Yeah, they're less complicated than like a $700 I mean, if you're comparing, I would put a 350 and a 727 about the same. I think a 727 is a little easier, but they're pretty close. I like the efficiency of the Chrysler as far as the number of parts. Unlike a 400, they don't just keep applying. You are turning stuff on and off. But I do find the general simplicity of the Chrysler stuff to be virtuous. I like it. A C4 is really similar, but I think Chrysler has a better setup, with the governor versus the modulator stuff. TH350 is simple and forgiving to build. Yeah, I would agree. Nick's is a 727 is easier than a C6. I'd agree with that too. 727 is better than a C6. I'd say that also. One of my favorites, and I say that loosely, was an 89 Hyundai Excel 5-speed. You've got these shafts with tapered roller bearings, and they have to have a clearance. And the way you get it is you put pieces of solder on the end of these shafts, and then you bolt the suitcase halves together. Then you take it back apart, and you measure the solder. And that tells you what thickness of shim to put in there. That's right out of the shop manual. That was a wild one right there. And in hindsight, I should never have built that one. And the reason is when I pulled the oil plug out of it, pieces of metal fell out. It had an oil slinger come apart. And if that stuff went through the gears, you can crack a case from it expanding going through the gears. In hindsight, that wasn't even a good core to build. But, whatever. Mexican Spec says transmissions was another class I didn't go to very much. Transmissions was the very first class I took in trade school. I did it completely backwards. In trade school, you're supposed to take AUT 101, which is like the simple stuff like how to use tools like a torque wrench, Teflon tape and a meter and all your really, really basic functions. And it's a good, worthy class. That's supposed to be your first class. And your last class, AUT 251, is automatic transmissions. My very first class was AUT 251 automatic transmissions. And I got an A in it. Did all right. But then my last classes, I don't remember what I did for my last class. I think like emissions. I know that was one of my last semesters, but I did it pretty much backwards. T says that was the same one. Yeah. Okay, cool. Taftwood Labs, where'd you go to school? Well, after I went to Virginia Tech, I went to New River Community College, and I took the automotive program there. It's a good program, but man, from what I hear, it's nothing the same anymore. The last time, well, first of all, I called him a while back. I said, hey, I'd like to dyno a transmission. This was years ago. So I'd like to dyno a transmission if I could. And he says, well, you'd be welcome to, but we got rid of the dyno 6 years ago. So I'm like, that sucks. So And I went up on the campus, and all of the old vehicles that were there when I was there, we used to have like late 80s, early 90s GMs, Toyotas, a few Fords. We would get stuff that, like, we had, I don't know what year it was, a 95 1-ton dually. I remember it had an MV 4500 5-speed in it because it was the heaviest transmission I have ever taken out of anything ever. But it was a 1-ton truck, 4-wheel drive. The truck had something like 9 miles on it, is all it had on it, because it was on the car hauler and it fell off the car hauler delivering it over here to Sheeler's car dealership in town. And so they donated it. GM donated it to the school, and they put a big blue sticker across the windshield, donated by GM, and they're required to destroy it completely when the school was done with it. So that 454 powered 9-mile 4-wheel drive 5-speed 1-ton Chevy truck with 9 miles on it got completely destroyed when they were done letting people mess with it. .38 POS Racing went through the over-the-road truck course and then went back for car automatics. Didn't care what the grades, just wanted to learn. Yeah, I just wanted to learn. I got good grades, though. Just wanted to learn, though. Danny Boyd says, why bother with university engineering? There's a lot of good stuff that comes out of university engineering. That is a strange track, though. Let me tell you. I did some of the university curriculum in engineering at Tech, and that engineering fundamentals 1015, 1016. Oh, brutal. It was designed to weed people out, and it was just the craziest stuff. They were so hard on students in there. But you can learn a lot. Danny Boyd says, no one saved the 454. You're not allowed to save anything. You just have to destroy it all. All of it. You can't take seats. You can't take parts. Nothing. Destroy the vehicle completely. It has to be completely destroyed. If I was a student, they'd have crushed a truck with a 305 and a 454 and a Caprice. Yes, exactly. 38 says, it's sad the donations can't have anything. So I totally agree. Complete waste. I heard bad things about differential equations. That's a brutal class. Vector geometry sucks. Differential equations, or DiffEq as they call it when I was there, is even worse. I mean, I did a lot of the math and basic engineering courses. I sure did. But it's funny because I got a lot of friends who I went to that curriculum with, and they all work in the field, but their whole job is just sitting behind this monitor, and they don't particularly enjoy what they do at all. They just do it because that's what they do. And none of them developed as gearheads at all. None of them. They call me when they want to do car stuff or figure out how to do car stuff. All of them. So, I mean, they have good jobs, good houses and all that, but it's just what they want to do. It's not what I wanted to do. Weed out courses are ridiculous. It's like some of those professors get a weird sadistic thrill of making it ridiculous. Yes, and then we had a couple of them here, and they're dead and gone now. I won't mention it, but man, did they have a terrible reputation for that. The worst. And one of them who's no longer a professor, who I really liked, and I took engineering fundamentals with, and I'll mention him by name. He's still alive. He's a good dude. His name's Stephen York. Dr. York actually, he took a very unusual track to teaching engineering at Virginia Tech. And he said this in course, and he said this in class, so I'm sure it's not a big deal to say it here, but he actually lost his job at the Radford Arsenal, he said, because they wanted him to sign off on batches of gunpowder without testing them, just out of, expediency. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And he said, that's integrity. That's people's lives. You don't do that. He said, I'll either test 1 out of 10 and sign 1 out of 10. I'll test 10 out of 10 and sign 10 out of 10. He said, or you can sign stuff that isn't tested, but I'm not going to. So because of his integrity, he had to leave there, and he taught engineering at Tech. But I really liked that guy. He was a guy who had good personal standards and integrity, and he was a great professor. I really liked him. I hit the luck lottery with him. Some guys got Dr. Pusey or Crittenden. Life was different for them. You ever saw the movie License to Drive? The kid Les had the one driver's ed instructor, and the sister had the other. Okay, I had the one like the sister got, and they had the one like Les got. That's how the best way I can describe it. Differential equations, ring tooth divided by pinion count? No, that would just be called arithmetic. B&R's mechanics are getting paid like engineers now. Yeah, by and large, yeah. Area and second and third moment calculation or such. I didn't mind moments. Moments aren't bad. Moments aren't bad at all. And ones I always had fun with when they give you these problems, and I was always the guy that would find a loophole, like like we had to figure out the length of a strap one time to hang a drum from a crane. And it's like, well, you didn't say that, like, it had fluid shifting in the drum. And so the idea is you had to figure out, you have this much strap. How far apart do you have to put the strap that the drum can't tip? Or do you cinch the drum so it can't tip? But now how much strap does that give you? And it was really interesting. But I would find the loopholes and say, well, you didn't say we couldn't do this. You didn't say we couldn't do that. And so it's almost like my test was almost a negotiation over what we could do and what we couldn't versus the answer they wanted you to come with for the problem. So I passed it, but it's just I probably would just never have made it in that field. I don't know. Okay, Tony's got his live fired up here in a few minutes, so we're going to shut down here, and we'll transition over to Tony's Hot Rod Garage. I believe he's already got the live up. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Thanks a bunch for coming out on this Friday after Thanksgiving, and it's always fun. We'll see you guys again next Friday. Take care. Thanks for coming out, and later.